Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is Illinois State Senator Robert Peters. Senator Peters, thank you so much for joining me.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
We have an important and really historic conversation today. Earlier this month, Illinois became the first state to end the use of cash bail. You've been a longtime proponent of this move. Can you first tell us why?
Yeah, so I started doing this work with a coalition about 7 years ago. And for me personally, I'm tied to the sort of criminal legal system. My biological mom, she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was put up for adoption. I was adopted by an Irish Catholic man who also turned out to be a civil rights lawyer. He ended up arguing in the Supreme Court around illegal searches and seizures. So, whether it was my DNA, whether it was leading me to my adoption, or whether it was my upbringing, all these things were tied together. And so taking on this issue was something that was personal to me, and it was personal to a really large coalition. As an organizer who came from that before I was a state senator, we had a team of people that were policy advocates, directly impacted, faith-based folks. We had people across the board and across the state. And then when I became a state senator, I made it sort of my mission, at least, to get this done. And what I would tell you is that I did not think it would happen so quickly. I always say, I look at these things and say it was, I thought 5 to 10 more years. What I would say is that we were able to pass the bill, and then we had a huge fight with some more far-right elements. But we got through it, and here we are. Illinois has made history.
Let's talk about that a little more, because you think that you've been in this fight for 7 years, you said, but you thought it was going to even last a little longer. So what are some of those challenges specifically that you faced?
Yeah, look, anytime you're trying to move massive civil rights pieces of legislation, it doesn't happen with the snap of the finger. It takes a lot of work, and really I got to give credit to the coalition and the statewide network that helped put it together. But you don't want to assume you're going to be able to get it done in a year or 2 years. You say, what's going to take 5 years, or what's going to take 10 years to get this massive policy done? What turned out is the fact that there were a combination of things that happened. We organized this large statewide coalition. They had a variety of different folks in it, again, from that faith-based to the policy. We had domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors who were part of this coalition, combined with the fact that coming out of the George Floyd protests, there were calls, there were demands to move and pass landmark civil rights legislation. And this became part of that sort of push. In January of 2021, when we passed what we called the Safety Act, this bill, the Pretrial Fairness Act, ended up being part of it. And so, both people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, say that when there's crisis, you don't just sit there, you don't just wait. You say, what in this crisis can we do to improve the lives of people in the view that we have? And so for us, this crisis, combined with our organizing, combined with this amazing coalition that went from victims' rights groups to faith-based folks to grassroots folks to people who were directly impacted, came together with the Illinois legislator and with the governor to pass what I would call a landmark civil rights legislation.